Good evening, everybody. Please welcome Matthew back to the show. The Hurricanes had a pretty successful draft, we think, and we are going to break down every single player that the Hurricanes drafted in this previous 2025 entry draft. And we will also have some cathartic statements regarding the format, even though it appears that the NHL is already dead set on going back to it. Thank you very much, Darth Bettman, for continuing your reign of terror.
What is thy bidding, my master?
That shit was hilarious. Like, I'm not even trying to toot my own horn. If I hadn't come up with that, somebody else would have.
That was great. That was classic.
Matthew, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's real excited to do this. Good to be on your channel again. And yeah, just before we dive into our picks, my goodness, NHL, what were you thinking? Like, you could have, and we were talking about this before we went live, but you could have done something decentralized that didn't have to be cringe and agonizing, but you chose cringe and agonizing. What were y'all thinking? And it's just, yeah, because you said it's probably going to happen again, because the GMs, they like being in their own offices and with their own technology and their own computers. Even like Darren York said as much. So they're probably going to keep it decentralized, but for the love of all that is holy, please, choose not cringe, please. It's not that hard. Yeah, so those are my, I guess, quick thoughts, and it's far more efficient than every team, which took 20 minutes apiece in the first round.
Yeah, see, the thing is, even years ago, I was kind of upset with the way the draft was going with the whole celebrity announcements and everything, because that's always going to add extra time because they have to come up there and make a stupid joke or say something that's totally out of touch or say something that's not related to the draft at all, and it's they're like, what's a puck? When's halftime, shit like that they have to say when they come up to the podium. So I miss, it's like they had the perfect formula with the sphere. They really did. That was the coolest thing ever. And they were like, how can we fuck this up? And they found every way possible.
They found every way to do it. And you can see on the poor kids, they're sitting there they have no idea what to do, talking in this huge, enormous screen with Bettman standing right next to them. They all look like they're in a hostage situation. It's like, blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, and then there was that one kid that got drafted in the 7th round that showed up in sweats, and I'm like, I don't blame him. He had no idea how long he was going to be there. Yeah. At that point, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? Not draft me because I'm not wearing a suit? That actually does remind me of one other thing I do want to talk about real quick, the NHL ending the suit requirement. I personally think that's a good thing. And people are worried about it. And I'm like, I'm not, because I think the teams will still tell the players, don't show up dressed like a bum. Yeah. You can show up in a business casual type of setup where you're wearing some slacks or a button up, because I wouldn't want to be wearing a suit in Florida or Raleigh during the playoffs anyway. So I'm totally okay with them ending that. I think that's a little bit archaic, but people are worried that guys,
each team can make its own rules.
I believe that too. That's one of those things that should be left up to the teams, where it's kind of like, not a single one of them will say, yeah, go ahead and show up in sweatpants. None of them will say that. Not one. Yeah. At least not at home.
We're gonna get to see, in turn, I'm curious as to see who shows up dressed like Cam Newton would do with it. Because some of them are gonna some players are gonna they're gonna say, oh, so there's no standardized dress code anymore, and they're gonna go nuts.
I remember that.
Who that'll be.
Greg Olson walking in a 3-piece suit. Christian McCaffrey walks in a 3-piece suit. Luke Kuechly walks in a really badass 3-piece suit. Here comes Cam Newton, look like he just left the football game, not going to one.
With some kind of I don't know, bow tie that the Joker would wear.
Yeah, dude, that was definitely some. It's like, okay, PK Subban, for all the shit that I give him, the dude knows how to dress. Now there's times where he wears weird stuff like that, sequin suit thing. Because my girlfriend saw that and she's like, that looks like something I would wear. It looks like the little frame that she has for her license plate that has the sequins and the little bow tie on it and everything. And it looks like one of the harnesses that we have for our Chihuahua that she picked out. And it's like, I'm like, PK, you're doing too much, man. Come on.
Overcomplicating it, overthinking it.
Absolutely. All righty.
Let's get into the selections here.
First is the please don't sue me slide. I don't own any of this information. I derived it from a multitude of these sources. It could be all of them. It could be only one or two of them. In this case, most of the stuff came from elite prospects, which is not listed in here, but it is listed all throughout the other slides because we utilize their draft guide to get some of the things that we make on here. So first things first here, Semyon Frolov.
Yeah, so really happy we took Frolov. And a quick note about how, the Hurricanes traded back twice. I told you it would happen on the stream.
Yep.
And again, I had prepared myself for this, but it was a little extra, kick in the nuts that when we traded the 29th pick to Chicago, they used
Mason West.
Mason West.
Yeah.
And then, and I remember I had to leave the stream, and then the next pick was Ravensburg, and then the last pick was Colin Potter, and then you crashed out something else.
Yeah, I did, because I was kind of like, are we ever going to draft a player again, like before the 5th round? Like, it's like they're going to get to the 7th. They're like, oh, we want to trade back. Well, with who? Like, everyone else has gone home, Eric. Everyone else has gone home, Darren.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was wondering if you would ever take any, because I'll say this, maybe toot my own horn a little bit. Everyone we talked about kind of went where I said they would.
Yeah, no, you were
right. Except for someone we're going to talk about later. Is the only one, and I guess because from our first stream, we could see inklings of this, of course, as we got to the draft. Ryabkin was the only one who went later than he should have.
Yeah,
and we'll get to that. We'll get to him though. But to start with Frolov, we desperately need a goalie. And some actually were saying that this was the best goalie in the draft. In my opinion, it was Ravensburgen, but only slightly. Of the 3 Russian goalies that I had my eye on, they're Andrianov, Medvedev, and Frolov. And I wanted Frolov of those 3. And I'm really glad we got him. He's got great size. Just looking at my notes here. He skates really well for a goaltender. That's not an attribute that you see talked about a lot when it comes to evaluating goalies, but he's a very, very good skater. And we need goalies that can move not just within the crease, but around the net. They have to be super tight and super efficient. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe goalie skates are different from the rest of the skaters.
Yes, they're very different.
Focused on lateral movement, right?
So the short version of that is, so they used to have cowlings on them around the holder. They don't do that anymore. It's a one-piece boot with a holder on it, kind of like a conventional player skate is. The biggest differences are they typically don't sit as high. The holders are lower. The boot is cut lower. The toe boxes are reinforced with some different stuff. And the biggest difference is the shape of the blade is different. Like when you look at a conventional skate, you'll see that it's kind of rounded at the toe and at the heel. Goalie skates are angled. They're almost like a rhombus type of shape is the best way to put it. They're essentially a quadrilateral.
The ice, right?
Yeah. So that gives them that extra lateral movement, that ability to put their skate down and really push off side to side and everything like that. But yeah, goalie skates are, even though they're a little bit more similar to player skates than they used to be, at the same time they're still completely different. And Bauer made a pair called the Connects that we had a special baking procedure with them because of how different they were. And they don't have laces. They have something more akin to on rollerblades, how they have the zip tie type of thing. They look more like that. They look like a ski boot with a blade attached to them. But yeah, goalie skates are very different now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, and he moves he's very, very good on his feet. For a goaltender at that position, and he doesn't go down too early. He'll stay on his feet more, more often than you see today, because the butterfly is obviously everywhere. But he doesn't go down too early. But he's still quick to seal the 5-hole. He's incredibly athletic, and got really good size. And his issues are like what you see a lot with young goaltenders. Obviously, his positioning needs to be more consistent. And he can be overly aggressive. That's a very, very common trait in Russia. We've got our own very super aggressive Russian goalie. So that's common. Obviously, those are issues that can be worked on. And it reminds me a lot of Thatcher Demko. Very solid, good skating goalie that has the athleticism. And obviously, the positioning of Demko is ahead of where Frolov's is right now, of course. But I would say that we get in that kind of caliber of a goalie, someone who is fully capable of becoming a full-time starter, not just a 1A, but a starter, which is good. Not too early to say something like All-Star or Vezina, but definitely a starting goaltender in the NHL. The potential is definitely here. Just God willing, he can stay more healthy than Thatcher Demko has.
Yeah.
But in terms of the style of goal, that's what stood out to me.
we'll take a look at some of his numbers here.
Mhm.
Ignore that one of the Team Volga Region U16 Districts Cup. That is I did some research on that when I saw that number right before we went live. Apparently that tournament is like super lopsided a lot of times. So the whole 6.35 goals against average in one game, he probably got absolutely shelled, and whoever he came in to relieve him, that also happened to him. So
yeah, and I was actually looking at like his most recent games, and it's actually it's a roller coaster. Like where is this here? Like there's his most recent game, he had surrendered 5 goals on 30 shots. The game before that, 1 goal on 27 shots. And the game before that, 6 goals on 33 shots. Game before that, 37 save shutout. So it's like, it's up and down, up and down. It's the young inconsistency factor. He has the game where he can just like be a machine and stop everything, even make like the most absurd saves. And then, like another Russian goaltender we know, a shot with no traffic from 30 feet out sails right past his glove, and we pay you so that doesn't happen. And I could have stopped that. And so, that's obviously the talent is there. The athleticism is there. He just needs to refine it.
I'm afraid that this is going to become not afraid of it, but it would be kind of funny, but also not funny if it became hey, Mom, can we have Frolov? Like, no, we already have Frolov at home and it's Kochekov.
I mean, that's the style these days in Russia. And Russia has churned out, they are a goalie factory. They just churn out goaltender after goaltender after goaltender. And they always seem to crack an NHL lineup somewhere. And you got to have to respect their, because they have a corner kind of on the goalie market these days. Obviously, we see, 4 of the last 5 cup winners are Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky. And, of course, you think of players like Sorokin and Shesterkin, all goaltenders we know very well, all from Russia. And I'm waiting for our turn. I was hoping really Kochekov could really become that. He still could, but he hasn't shown it yet. I mean, he's shown flashes of it, but yeah.
Goalies are such a weird development, though, too. It's like one day they just – it seems like with them there's no gradual – excuse me, one second. It seems like there's no gradual progression with them. It's like it's just struggle. And then one day they turn a corner and they're what you were hoping that you drafted, or they don't.
Yeah.
It's like they hit that pivotal point, that cataclysmic point where they either develop into what you need or they don't. Like I still think Kochekov is a long-term 1B at least. I still think that he's got that in him. I'm just not sure
that he can be competitive in the league. He should have a job. He should have an NHL job his entire, for the rest of his career. He should never play in the AHL again.
No,
but can he take you to the promised land? Can he develop into that super, Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, Sorokin? Can he be that guy, that Russian? Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. I hope so, but it hasn't happened yet. Just one other thing with goaltenders, because another thing that can happen with goalies is that they can be a flash in the pan.
Right.
Where, like, I don't know if any of our viewers here remember Andrew Hammond. I don't know if that name rings a bell.
Oh, yeah. The Hamburglar.
The Hamburglar. Yeah. He came on the scene and absolutely, I think it was like the last 30 some odd games of the season it was like back in 2011 or something. It was a while back, but for Ottawa, when Ottawa was like out of the picture and he comes in rookie and just stops everything and dragged him into the playoffs himself. And I think, if memory serves, they won a round or two because of his performance.
2011, I was gone then, so I actually didn't watch a lot of. I was overseas that year.
I could be off by a year or two or something when that happened, but I remember watching it as he was absolute lights out. Nothing got past him, and then the next year he got shelled, and then he could never recover. So what happened was that, and obviously, this happens all the time at professional sports at this level. A book gets out on you. And you have to be able to adjust. And the shooters aren't stupid. They're going to read. They're going to study film. They're going to read the scouting reports, and they're going to target. They're going to target your weaknesses. And if you can't make adjustments to your own game to respond to that, then you are not long for the NHL.
Correct.
And so that's something else that's a danger you have to worry about with goaltenders is that flash in the pan. Hopefully that won't be the case here. He's got all the talent in the world, and he can, like, he develops properly, Frolov can become a starter. All right, now I'm ready to move on.
All right.
Serrato. It slipped my mind because I thought that I had mentioned him on our first stream. It turns out I didn't. But I had him in the back of my mind as someone that the Canes could select in the later rounds. He's a double overager. But it's interesting, he's 20 years old, but he just played his freshman year at Penn State. And now Gavin McKenna is coming to Penn State. And they're playing really with Serrato on the same team. Yeah. And so that is going to be fun to watch because, of course, McKenna is going to be absolutely the number one overall pick, no question, in the 2026 draft. And, I was, on X with and Aaron Manning was mentioned that, and with the trade that the Penguins made today, they're tanking for him. And I think they're absolutely tanking for McKenna. And if they get him, which they probably will, because we can't have nice things. It's like I had to suffer through Crosby for 20 years, and now I'm going to have to see McKenna wear a Penguins jersey for another 20 years.
It's like these players always come to the Metro. It's like Schaefer came to the Metro.
Now, like Crosby, Schaefer. Yeah, it's infuriating that another generational talent is going to be in our division, torching us for decades to come. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's just I have flashbacks. I break out in hives.
Yeah,
every time
I really
like this happen.
No, Pittsburgh's definitely tanking. When they made the Matt Dumba trade today, I'm like, yeah, they're playing for Gavin McKenna at this point.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they only win like 30, maybe 35 games this year.
You know what? They probably should. Like, I have to respect it. I have to respect the tank. When you can't win, they know they can't win. The only question is, will Crosby actually get traded? Of course, he doesn't want to be, but
Gretzky got traded, and anybody can get traded. And,
everyone knows though that was the dumbest decision ever made.
Oh, yeah. Well, it also comes down to, like, if it's him getting one more cup. Let me also caveat it with this. I don't like Sidney Crosby, but I'd be an idiot to say that he cannot continue playing because he's still good. Yeah, maybe he's not as fast as he was, but he's got so much hockey IQ and everything like that he can still beat you with his brain even when he slows down. The guy can play until he's 45 if he wants to. It's like yeah, he really could. So it's like, maybe he sticks around in Pittsburgh and, gives Gavin McKenna some guidance as he starts his career and everything.
Like you did with him.
Yes, that I could see that happening. Now, if Gavin McKenna is living in Sidney Crosby's basement sometime in the next few months, because it's like he's already in Penn State, so he's not that far away, then I'll be like, okay, I've seen this movie. So it's like...
So, back to Serrato, the guy we actually did take. Double overager, was passed off twice in the previous two drafts, but drafted here by the Canes pretty early, according to most scouts. Where he was ranked, and he was expected to be drafted this time, but more in like round 5, I should say, is probably where he was expected to go. But the more I've thought about it, the more I really like this pick. I think he'll be a very, very solid center, like kind of how we were talking about Milton Gastrin a lot, how he's a solid, probably third line center, but still a very, very solid guy. I think Serrato is actually that player, basically. Less runway because he's older, but very, very similar. He really popped off at Penn State in his freshman year. He had a fantastic year. And if you posted a clip of him making an absolute sick backhand pass into the slot, right on target for a shot and a goal. That was beautiful. And you can tell that, if McKenna plays on his line, they're going to work some magic together. That'll be really, really fun to see. So I am excited about Serrato. I think he'll be some people are comparing him to Jack Drury. I think he's actually got a little bit more upside offensively than Drury did, but sure. Yeah. He's probably going to be a bottom 6 center, and he's probably going to stick at center, which is nice because, again, we're really thin at that position. So I think that's where Darren York's mind is like, hey, I know we need a center. I want to pick someone who's got really projectable skills. That's going to be solid defensively, good 200-foot game. And they went with Serrato, and I can't argue with it. Yeah, so defensively responsible center, likely to stick there. Good hockey IQ and vision. Really, really good in the circle. 55%. and at Penn State, which is for college, that is extremely good.
And that can
And
definitely
he's going to
translate.
play. Yeah, that can translate. And he's going to play with Gavin McKenna. So
Yeah.
that's a pro in and of itself. Again, bottom 6 role is likely if you consider that a drawback. He does need to get a little bit stronger. He can be knocked out. He's not small. I think he's just 6 foot. What was his weight? Elite Prospects has him listed at 194. That's pretty stocky.
Yeah, he can put some muscle on there. He might not be done growing yet either if he's only 20.
True. But he could get knocked off the puck a little bit. I compare him to Ryan McLeod, who's again, a solid center. I think he plays for Buffalo right now, which of course, that dumpster fire of an organization. He's stuck there like all of their play, because it really is sad because that franchise seems like they're cursed because they have good players. They just can't win. They just don't know how to win. But Ryan McLeod is one of those good players who's like does everything that you want in his role. And so and by the way, with the comparables I chose here, I do see not only the similarities in the game, but if they hit, and that's still an if, that's always going to be an if. If they do hit, though, that's what I see them taking that kind of role and being that kind of player. So I'm not saying that he is going to be like and put Ryan McLeod and put up those kinds of numbers for any of the comparables that we're going to talk to. I am not Nostradamus. This is just the way I see the players and the similarities in the game and style, and if they hit their potential, that's how I evaluate them. So what do you think about Serrato, Brandon?
So I haven't seen much of him, but I can tell you this. So one of the things that I did season before last is I watched a lot of UMass games because of Scott Morrow, because it was easy to go on ESPN Plus and watch him. I think I'm going to watch Serrato even more and do a lot of content about him. Because I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I do see, I definitely do see like a legitimate, likely bottom 6 center, but I think it's more likely of the third line variety with him. I definitely like the playmaking ability that I see out of him and everything. It's a little bit higher than you see out of a lot of projected bottom 6 centers and everything. Skating's pretty good, and I think that it's still got a lot of room to improve. So, like, he could be probably not an elite skater by the time he would potentially crack the Canes lineup, but, like, noticeably good. So that's one of the things that I see there, and I definitely think that maybe this kid's got a pretty good shot at cracking the lineup. But it's like he's also one of those guys I think is going to take a little bit longer to develop him. I think you're looking at after he leaves college, whenever that is, if he decides to go back next season or whatever, I think that you're looking at 3, maybe 4 years, and that's from me only watching about 30 minutes worth of video of him to make that determination. I think it's going to be a little bit longer before he's ready. If he could line up to be ready in 2 to 3 years when Jordo is done, and if KK is gone, that would be tremendously helpful for Carolina, because everybody's screaming, get KK out of here for anything. If you think the center depth is bad now, imagine no KK in 2 years when Jordo retires, and then it's Aho, Jankowski, and oh my God, what the hell do we do now?
Yeah, and we were actually we were on X earlier today with Erin Manning, where she asked about a little bit of the history of the Hurricanes' center depth before Trocheck.
Stahl, Walmark, and Bishop.
Yeah, and it wasn't even Aho. He wasn't playing center yet. It was like all Walmark, Clark, Bishop, and like
Victor
I think
Rask.
like Teravainen and Martinuk and Victor Rask. Yeah. So it was bad. And if you don't think it can get bad again, it can get bad again.
And it can get bad again very quickly. That's why it's
bad in a hurry. Yeah. So
everybody's saying get rid of KK. I'm like, do you realize if he just decided to retire tomorrow, how deep shit the Canes are in?
Yeah, and I did hear that report that the Canes are open to moving him, but only if they can actually replace him, and that's good to hear. That the organization is not gonna make a rash decision. Not that Tulsky is prone to rash decisions, because he's not. He's smarter than that. Thank God. But yeah, personally, I think that Serrato is probably going to need some, like after he finishes his collegiate career, he's probably going to need some time in Chicago before he's ready also. So if you think like 2 more years in college, he'll probably need at least 1 year in playing minor leagues, probably 2.
Yeah,
so
see, that's why I think
I don't know if it'll, which is why I say, folks, get ready now. that to have Jordan Staal for at least one more year after his current contract is up.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's going to happen.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm not opposed to that because he can still play. So it's like, and now does he need to like maybe have his 5-on-5 minutes reduced a little bit at that point? Sure. But he's still like the guy I'm sending out there as the top penalty killing unit. He's still the guy I send out there.
Like 30 seconds left up by a goal and you just ice the puck.
And he's out there.
You get him out there. You got to win that draw. And he can do that forever. Like basically, he can do that as long as he wants. But Serrato, I'm glad we have him. I'm glad we took some center. So the first and so this is where like obviously the tension is, and when you're drafting between best player available and organizational need, the drumbeat so often is take the best player available. I think that there are times when you've gotta address this problem in your pipeline. And the Hurricanes, they had, I think, really no other option but to address. Now, thankfully, they were able to take some good players while doing so. But I think you could see here in these first two picks, they were thinking more along the lines of need. And they know they needed a center in the pipeline. They took someone who was probably, again, not the biggest swing. And the Canes are known for taking swings. This does buck that trend a little bit. He's not the biggest swing that they could have taken at pick, 49, I think. And, but they shored up their organizational need and took someone with very solid projectable skills. So I'm happy to have him in the system.
All righty.
Yes. I was so ecstatic when the Hurricanes got Ryabkin.
I got your message about this when I was at work the next day. I was like, okay, at least they drafted somebody, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, the Carolina Hurricanes are drafting the entire 7th round was what I was expecting to see next.
No. And finally, we did get someone on our list. The first guy we talked about on our stream a month ago, Ivan Ryabkin, is in the Hurricanes organization. I am so happy. And and so I even said back in that first stream that if it was actually close for me, it was pretty close. Like if both Mason West and Ryabkin were available, that was a tough choice. And we both decided, like Mason West, but in my opinion, it's only narrowly because Ryabkin he does have more raw talent. He's got more raw skill. He's got a much better shot. His vision and playmaking are incredible. They say, like what is the triple threat? It's usually, of course, in basketball terms, it's, passing, shooting, and handling. It's the same thing in hockey, passing, shooting, and puck handling. Now, in that case, you'd say Ryabkin is more of a dual threat of a passing and shooting, but he does have a third dimension, that is checking. And so if you can say he's a triple threat in this sense, that his passing is great, his shooting is great, and his hits are massive. Again, his problem is that he chases them and can get out of position and take a penalty. But boy, does he ever lay the body. I don't know. You probably saw like some of those clips that shout out to Nick Bass with Canes Prospects, that account. If you don't follow them, do it. And he was posting some of this absolute vicious check. There was my favorite one. He did. I think the United said, and Ryabkin sends him flying. And you saw he just absolutely this larger defenseman who fumbled the puck for a moment, and Ryabkin just plowed him. And through it, because it wasn't close to the boards, and he sent him like going a good, 10 feet airborne into the boards. Clean, crisp, and devastating. And again, it's like, what more could you ask for? It is like his playmaking is superb. His shot is got a ton of velocity and accuracy. He just, said, violent center. And again, I think he's got a really, some people are saying he'll probably project more his wing. I think he could land at center. And, one-timers from the flank, quick release wristers, skill and tight deflections. And if you move to my notes there, I think the only really thing he does have to work on his conditioning. I think he's a little heavy for his height. And so I think there's some fat he can trim off. Which, of course, he's got the right organization and the coach to do it. That's
yes.
And it will not be an option. See, that's the thing with this organization. Conditioning is not an option. You will be conditioned, and so that's that. I think that's going to happen. And attitude issues such as they are, I know it's been commonly reported about him. Even Darren York was asked about it in the press conference after the draft. And he even said, he's like, look, we didn't get wind of any of that. I mean, like, or at least none of that, showed up on, as red flags to this organization. And the things like, if you think that, someone wasn't going to fit with Rod Brindamore as a coach and in our system, we wouldn't draft him.
No. And then if they ended up not fitting, they'd be gone, i.e. Eric Holla.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, he was probably like the real only, in terms of like personality fit, he was the only mistake. And again, I see a lot of Claude Giroux here. And, I'll shamelessly admit this. I was using a bit of, like Google AI and whatnot to research some comparables here. Google, and don't accuse me though of being a sycophant, because Google AI did not like this comparison, but I do. I think he is a very Claude Giroux type player who has not just the passing and the shooting and the hitting. I mean, that's what jumps out to me the most. And the quite frankly, the attitude of, maybe you think it's a bad attitude, but he puts that into the other team. And I've seen Ryabkin do it too. Again, I love to mention that clip where he was surrounded by all 6 of his opponents, the 5 skaters and the goaltender, on a frozen puck, and he did not care. He was in front of the net spearing the goalie. And so we need that. We need that snarl. We need that bite. We need someone who is like gonna start fights, that chooses problems and not peace.
Yes.
And Ryabkin is that player, and he has the skill to boot. No fear. I think he's far and away our best pick, and far and away the most potential. Again, he's at least a top 10 talent in terms of skill alone and the physicality that he brings. The fact that off ice, rumors and whatnot pushed him all the way down to 62 is everyone else's loss and our gain. I will enjoy making the rest of the league regret this.
And the other thing about Ryabkin, I know we both wanted to get Mason West, but we also talked about Mason West had a little bit more runway and had a little bit more ceiling, but he had a longer term to get to that point. Ryabkin could be ready sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Like he would probably take less time to develop than Mason West would.
I agree.
So that's also them addressing an organizational need because of how thin the Hurricanes are at center. And I think one of the biggest things that creates the situation of players having to get drafted as center but end up as wing, and that happens to a lot of players. Typically, it's either size, a lack of physicality, or inability to manage the puck. That doesn't sound like that it affects him really at all.
Yeah, like I said, his even though he's like not the most, he's not like the triple threat in terms of puck handling. His puck handling isn't bad.
Yeah,
he's not bad, and his passing is superb. He can thread the needle, and he finds the open man, and he can let it rip. Again, his problem is not with turning the puck over per se. It's not like making bad passes or bad decisions. His problem is chasing the hit and getting out of position. And so that's what needs to be cleared up in him. And if you can instill in him, the defensive responsibility that a center has to have, and his energy needs to be reined in. It doesn't need to be coaxed out. It needs to be reined in.
That's an easier problem to solve.
You'd rather have to rein it in than coax it out.
Yeah, that's a much easier problem to solve. It's like, it's just, not chasing hits. It's like, okay, like Svechnikov used to be pretty bad about that, and he's reined it in a lot. So, and then the other thing Svechnikov is bad about is taking the axe to people, but he's reined that in too. And if Svechnikov can rein that in, this kid can rein in chasing hits.
Absolutely.
And, every once in a while, you're going to need someone to, just go out there and dish some revenge on somebody. A guy like this to go up against Sam Bennett and maybe finish a hit a little bit late, because he'll do it to you. Yeah. Like, you have a guy like that can go out there and, deter a lot of this stuff. And, someone lays a hit they don't like, or that the Canes don't like, and they don't get a penalty for it. Yeah. Go out there and get some payback. It was kind of like the thing when Lundell grabbed somebody by the throat, I think it was. And I'm kind of like, that happens 15 times a game. Like, people act like that this is a new thing. Like, that happens all the damn time.
Yeah. The cross check in the lower rib,
that happens all the time. Yeah.
And like players make a living out of knowing exactly when and where to hurt you.
Yeah. And now like a kid like this could be like really helpful in making sure the Hurricanes are dishing that out sometimes, as opposed to taking it. So I'm really excited about this pick as well. And we're gonna do some video work on him in the near future. I'm getting some stuff together for that and everything.
That'd be
But
great.
it's like looking at a player like this. If you're talking about his biggest problems are, hey, rein your fire in a little bit, lose some weight. That's easy stuff to fix.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also, if you all checked out Kane's prospects and their kind of reviews of the prospect camp, which is another great thing because like all of our picks in this class got to go to the camp.
Yeah.
Which is great to see. That was awesome. And I was actually watching the stream of Nick Bass and Matt Soma, who do a lot of Kane's prospect work. Good work. Just going to say it, they were a little skeptical of Ryabkin to start, but I think Ryabkin won them over. And especially in the prospect, in the camp, the skill, they can tell, and it's obvious his skill is through the roof. It is ridiculous. It is absurd. It is just beyond absurd that he went at 62nd. Frankly, Canes would have been fully justified to taking him with their first pick. Again, not complaining about Frolov or Serrato. Certainly not complaining that he kept falling to us, but my goodness, like every other team that passed on him, some teams passed on him like multiple times, and they are going to regret it, and we are going to make them regret it, and I'm going to enjoy rubbing their nose in it.
All righty. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about this one. I think that, maybe you're looking at about a 3-year development timeline with him. And one of the things that kind of streamlines that a little bit is the fact that he's playing in the USHL or just played in the USHL already this season. So he's already adjusting to the North American game. And I don't know if you've ever been to a USHL game. Them boys are rough.
Yeah, and he actually got drafted in the CHL too, and so he has a choice. He can play in the USHL again, or he can go and probably play in the Q. And imagine what Ryabkin is going to do if he goes to the Q. Now, I actually think he should probably go back to the USHL because I think that's a better development track. But if he does go to the Q, like he will destroy that league. He will absolutely annihilate everything in his path if he goes.
Because that's a no defense, not a ton of physicality, high finesse league. He would vaporize people in that league.
Vaporize that league. And so again, I'd rather him play against the stiffer, I think, tougher competition. But if he does go to the Q, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, because every time I've been to another league that I saw that was really rough, this doesn't really apply to him. But I remember I've been to a couple when I used to go play in that tournament up there. I used to go to a couple of Johnstown Tomahawks games, which is in the same building that Slapshot was filmed in, is where that tournament's held at. And then we would go to the Tomahawks game for free that night. NAHL is a pretty rough league too. There was stuff going on after the whistle, seemed like every single shift. So it's good that he's adjusting to that North American game now, and that'll streamline his development.
Already here.
Yeah, that helps a whole lot.
Yeah, because people say the Russian factor, it's hard to get him over. Well, he's already here.
Yeah.
And so that's a non-issue. And so, again, I'm super excited for Ryabkin. I'm so happy we got him. And of our, actually, when I was putting the list together of top 10, I probably did Ryabkin. I think I had him at like 5th.
Something like that.
After watching him, after seeing him in the prospect tournament or the prospect development camp, I think he should have been higher on that list. I think he should have been second probably. And I think when the prospect tournament happens in a month or so, a month and a half, whatever it is, I hope he can be there. And because I'm really, really looking forward to what he can do.
All righty.
Yes. And then the Hurricanes trade up they used a couple picks to trade up. Their 6th rounder, and I think another pick next year to get to pick 67, and they draft Kurban Limitov. And I will also shout out Nick Bass on this. Nick Bass was ecstatic about this pick, and it's easy to see why. Kurban Limitov is, I didn't mention him in our Russians because I was focused on forwards, but he's definitely one of the best Russian defensemen that there was in the draft, and one of the best, he was probably should have been like a maybe late 1st, early 2nd round pick. And he fell, down into the 3rd. And, big mobile defenseman, plays aggressively. I'm just reading here, plays aggressively on both sides of the puck to impose himself in every game. Impressive mover, very, very fluidity. This was, by the way, this pick was the theme really in the whole draft was people taking big mobile defensemen. Frankly, like it got to the absurd point really where just so many big defensemen were taken that some of them had like no other qualities. They were just big and they played defense. And a lot of because it's a copycat league. Look what Florida just did. They used their large mobile defensemen to great effect. And the league, everyone wants to get in on that action. And the Canes were not really an exception. However, I think with Limitov, they got really one of the best in the group of available defensemen in this draft. And I also love the confidence. Of course, everyone kind of noticed when he was asked after he was drafted, who do you think the best defenseman in the NHL is?
In 5 years.
Me in 5 years. Based.
Yes.
Based. That's what I want to hear. Good for you.
I love the confidence. It's just it might take him 8 though, because Jacob Slavin is still going to be playing. But
and Nikishin's on our line. And by the way, I mean, if we can have a left, and I guess we have Miller for the rest of ever now. So
I think he's going to end up playing the right. Miller is.
I think Miller will play the offside. Okay.
I think it's going to be him. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Somebody has to.
I want to pick your brain about this. Somebody's going to have to. Obviously, we have 5. We have 5 left-handed defensemen now under contract, and 2 on the right, 2 right-handed. There's some speculation that we might try to package Ghost and maybe get a prospect or a pick or something to get a right-handed D, but I don't know. I don't know if that's necessary. But back to Limitov here. He's very strong physically. He's a breakout machine. He is just super efficient with the puck on his stick when he's in his own zone. No wasted time. Instant out. He finds the tape, breaks the forecheck incredibly efficiently, which is, I think, his best quality right now. He gets a lot of assists just through pure efficient breakouts, which I really like. I love the presence, love the confidence, a lot of offensive upside here. His decision making could still use some improvement, especially on the offensive zone. He's got some dynamism and offensive upside, but the occasional boneheaded pass to no one or to the opponent. Can't be doing that at the NHL level. No. And he also needs to improve on the rush. It's just that's kind of like mental. That's a mental aspect. That's a hockey IQ that needs to develop a little bit more, get a little bit smarter in his decision making. But he's definitely got all the physical qualities and again, phenomenal skater, 6'4". So yeah, I love the pick. I definitely think he's got, and Matthias Ekholm, I think is very, very good comparison here. Big rangy guy, really solid offensive upside, probably a middle pair defenseman. And just like Matthias Ekholm, makes the occasional boat-headed decision that makes you facepalm. So yeah, that's who I see here in Limitov.
So defending off the rush when you have size and you can skate well is actually I don't want to say an easy problem to solve, but it's a lot easier than someone who can't skate or doesn't have size. I.e., we talked about Fensori, great skater. If he was a couple inches taller, then there's a lot of situations where he'd be able to get the stick in there and get the puck off somebody's tape that he just can't because he's too short. Now, it's kind of the same thing with Keandre Miller. He's a really good skater and he's got some size. And, his gaps are a little bit off, but, Tim Gleason, Jacob Slavin, and Jalen Chatfield being there to talk him through that and work with him and everything, you could probably do the same thing with Limitov here. And
honestly, Miller's another really good comparison. I didn't want to just compare them all to Canes players.
Right.
But honestly, you probably could compare him with Miller in a lot of those aspects. Again, with the big, very, very excellent skating defenseman on the left side. So yeah, I'm happy with Limitov. I look forward to seeing what he does. And then in the same thing, we take another big. I guess you want to go over stats here, but yeah, Roman Balsov.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I mean, just with Limitov's stats here, pretty decent numbers for a defenseman. So you can definitely see he's got the offensive flair. Again, he gets those assists a lot by just being efficient with breaking the puck out. And that'll start a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1. Yeah. And he'll just get it. Like Slavin does that a lot too. It's where he gets a lot of his assists, just being, like super efficient in your own zone. And you end up on the score sheet. And I think I can definitely see that happening here with Limitov a lot. It already does.
Yeah. And, you can never have too many guys who are capable of moving the puck. That's one great thing about Carolina's defense. Everybody on all the defensemen, even someone you wouldn't imagine like Chatfield, is really great at moving the puck. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to clock an assist every single time or that there's going to be a really good scoring chance generated at the other end every single time. But also that helps, with the puck management thing, quicker neutral zone transitions, everything like that. And that's that much more time you're spending away from your own net and everything. So having someone who's a really good breakout generator like this, that's the way that defensemen are going. The old school actual stay at home defenseman is long gone. Not even Slavin qualifies for that now. You still have to have like these other aspects to your game. Slavin has them, Miller has them, Chatfield even has them, and the list goes on. So nowadays, to be a defenseman, it's not just about what you do defensively, it's what you do in terms of possession and everything like that, and generating breakouts. It's a really, really big deal. It's not like it was, like when we were kids, it was like somebody would, go and poke check someone, they would take the puck and they would coil back, take a couple of steps back, read the play, and try to send it 100 feet to get it to somebody. Whereas nowadays, it's kind of like, no, you take ownership of that particular moment, you generate that possession, you skate it up to the blue line and make a heads-up play. You don't rely on somebody else to do it for you.
And you can see in today's game, especially with the most successful system like the Canes and the Panthers, they punish you if you dawdle, if you dawdle in your own zone. If you even have if you dirtle around in there and pass the puck back and forth, going D to D or behind the net, teams will punish you for that. The Hurricanes do it. The Panthers definitely do it.
Yeah.
And so to counter that, you have the phrase, puck moving defenseman is usually seen as like, oh, he's like an offensive defenseman. No, not necessarily.
Not anymore.
You got to move it. You just get going, make a decision, take a look, pass. You cannot dawdle in your own zone anymore. You cannot dirtle around. That is asking for trouble. And teams are more than happy to punish you for it. With high pressure systems like the Hurricanes play, the stress
high pressure system.
Yeah.
That was funny the way you phrased that, high pressure system.
Well, it is. I mean, it's apropos. And I love the way Ehlers put it. Actually, Nikolai Ehlers said the stress game. It's like the full court press. You better make it. You better make a good decision quickly, otherwise we're going to make you pay.
Yes. And another thing, it seems like the Hurricanes have placed a bigger emphasis on over the years. They've always been good about it, but they've gotten a lot better in the course of Brendan Moore's tenure. The defensemen are pinching more efficiently now than ever, and they've never been bad at it, but they've gotten to where they're better at it than, I would say, damn near every team in the league except for maybe Florida. Like, you have to work to get out of the zone when the Canes have possession. They're not going to just let you have it. And that's another thing that you look for with these defensemen now. Do they pinch more often than not? And do they do it in the right situations? All that type of stuff. Even Slavin pinches a ton more now than he used to.
Yeah, it's true. And, it's a while back, but I remember this. I'll never the two series we had against Boston where the Canes were beaten, in 19 and then the next year in the bubble.
The bubble, yeah.
Yeah, they could not break the puck out.
No.
I don't know if you saw it, every time it was just the Boston had the board sealed, tighter than some pretty girl's ass.
Yeah.
It was buttoned up. You could not get it out along the boards. And it's just so you have to have a defenseman who can really who's efficient at the breakout. It's basically my point there. You have to be able to get that puck out of the zone quickly and immediately. Otherwise, your shifts are going to get long. You're going to get pinned in, hemmed in, and ground down, which is what happened to the Hurricanes in those two playoff losses against the Bruins. They figured it out a little bit, but honestly, Florida kind of did a lot of the same thing. With their I have to say it, Forsling, Mikkola, and Ekblad, they just did a fantastic job at keeping the puck in the zone and possessing forcing the Hurricanes to do what Florida wanted to do. It was very, very, very annoying to watch.
Yeah.
So that's you got to have the personnel that can counter that, or the personnel that can do it, or both, preferably both.
Preferably both, yes.
And speaking of which, Roman Bausov on the right side now, even a little bit bigger, 6'5", big rangy defenseman, the massive frame, solid mechanical base, probably even a better skater than Limitov. They're both good, but I think Bausov is even a little bit better from what he showed at the development camp. And so he has a ton of defensive range. He can, his gap control is great with matching the footwork, swatting the pucks away. I really like Bausov. I think he's got the defensive side of the game more than figured out. His issue is offense. Like there's no offensive game really as of yet. He could develop one. When you're that mobile on your skates, you should be able to do some magic at the blue line. Work to find some good shooting and passing lanes. He just hasn't done that yet. Hopefully he can. But now, like you said, in today's game, the defensemen, you kind of have to in order to have a job. And you can't just be a derp out there that stays in the crease, cross-checking every forward that comes your way. You have to
those days are over.
Yeah, those days are over. You have to be not useless. In the hockey, and it's even actually been said that the Hurricanes kind of play an almost positionless system on the attack. And because it is like they rotate, whenever a defenseman pinches in to play down low, even going behind the net, then the forward is playing defense now.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to be comfortable going deep behind the opponent's net, even playing defense. So he needs to add that aspect to his game. But he's got the other aspects I think are already pretty well developed. So that's how I see Bausov. I think the comparison I had was Eric Chernak. Again, who's I think he plays on Tampa's third pair, 3RD there, but he's had a steady gig there, and he'll have a steady gig in the NHL as long as he wants, as long as he can be effective at that. And yeah, he's not gonna wow anyone with crazy numbers, but he's not useless in the offensive zone, and still pretty efficient defensively too.
So one thing I want to comment on before we go look at his stats here in the draft guide here. He achieves plenty of depth throughout his stride with his ankles and knees bending in the optimal ways. This combination gives him a lot of defensive range as he's capable of matching the attacker's footwork along the boards and swatting pucks away from their sticks by surprising them with his length. So one thing I want to place an emphasis on here that they're talking about in the paragraph from the scouting report here, getting that extra little bit of flexion in your knee, that little bit lower of a base, and being able, it's like one of the things they're talking about with the stride and everything like that. You'll notice a lot of times when guys, especially when they're skating backwards and everything, how instead of their feet being upright like this, like the blades of their skates are upright like this on the ice, it's kind of bent like this. It gives them a little bit more traction to push off and change direction and everything like that, to pivot and everything. That's actually really important. And that's like, they're putting a lot of stock in the observations of how this kid skates and everything. Because when you have those super good skating mechanics already and you don't really have a whole lot to learn there, that's more time you focus on other things. So that's a greater likeliness that he's going to develop an offensive side of his game, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel and teach him stuff that he already knows. So I think these scouts nowadays, just based on all the scouting reports that I've read, I think that they really, really look at stuff like that now more than they ever have. How far does this kid bend his knees? Does he flex his ankles a whole lot when he goes into a crossover, when he goes to pivot? Does he have good 10 and 2 turns? Is his stride efficient? Or is he doing more with less as far as like people who skate kind of upright? There's exceptions like Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel looks like he's standing straight up when he skates, but he pushes more out of his core than he does out of his legs and out of his calves. Yeah. So it's like he's the exception to that, but they often look for things with skating mechanics like what they're describing here. If that's something that they don't have to teach him any further on, that gives him a little bit more of a streamlined development path than what he would have had if he didn't have those things already. So that's a really, really good thing to see, because the scouts are placing a big emphasis on the skating mechanics now, because there's a lot of guys who could make their life a whole lot easier if they improve their skating a little bit. So absolutely. Get a little bit lower in your stance. Yeah, I know. I knew that was coming. Getting a little bit lower in your stance and everything like that. Bending the knees a little bit more, getting your butt down a little bit more. There's a whole bunch of stuff to it. But yeah, it's like with as fast as the game is now, they're placing a big emphasis on even the smallest details, like are described in this paragraph of someone's skating.
Yeah, you got to move. Bottom line, you got to be able to move on the game surface. And so. Yeah, I'm glad we got two big, rangy Russian defensemen who can skate exceptionally well. And because a lot of the defensemen that were drafted, frankly, like someone that comes to mind is like someone like Sean Aitchison, who was taken by the Islanders in the first round. He's got a clapper and he can throw a hit, and that's it. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, yeah, he could probably, he'll probably get a job at some point. He'll probably play in the NHL. But I think he's going to have. I think someone like Aitchison is going to struggle defensively. I think I think a lot of forwards are gonna go around him, and he's going to end up taking a holding penalty to keep up or something like that. So, I'm glad that we took, even if they have maybe some deficiencies on in some decision making thing or just not an offensive game as of yet. If they can skate, they can move the puck, then they've got really the fundamentals down of the position as it's played today, and the rest can be worked out.
Right. And then just some numbers.
Yep. Again, that's not a whole lot of offense. It's I suppose it's better than nothing. Again, I'd want to see that. I want to see those numbers get higher. I want to see improvement there. Maybe he can get some time at a higher league. Maybe he can play in the VHL, or probably see both Basov and Limitov. They will probably be in Russia for a good long while. I'd say probably 4, maybe even 5 years before they even come over to North America. So these guys are long-term projects, and we've got time when it comes to our defensive prospect pool.
Yes,
it is stacked, and frankly, our current, like even on the NHL roster, it is stacked with defensemen, especially on the left side. So we have got nothing but time. We can afford to be very, very patient with all our defensive prospects, and especially the ones that we just got. They can stay in Russia. They can work on their game. They can develop all of that. And one of the things, I was actually watching the day 2 draft, and of course, when the Hurricanes were on the clock, it came up, that the Hurricanes take a lot of Russians. And Darren York said, like we're not exactly targeting, like, oh, we got to get the Russian. It's no one else is taking them, and we've got them on our list, and they're at this spot. We evaluate them here, and everyone else would evaluate them talent-wise at a certain part, and they pass on them because Russia. And the kids are like, okay, we'll take it. And so to the Hurricanes, they're taking the best player available, which is often Russian, because they're being passed on for non-hockey reasons.
Yeah.
But we got someone, I forget his name, but someone on the day 2 draft day was still throwing shade our way for doing this. For you say there's too many Russians, you don't have control over their development. You have to leave them in Russia and hope they work out. It's like, look, shut up.
Well, here's the cool thing about that. If you do that, you don't have to expend any resources to develop them. You don't have to put any time into them. All you have to do is get your binoculars out and say, okay, this guy, when we're ready, we'll bring him over. It's like a lot of people freaked out about Artemonov, staying over there for a couple more years.
That's
or
fine.
One more year. That's
one
more year. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
If there's no room for him any damn way.
He gets to play in the top Russian. He gets to play in the second best league in the world. Yeah. Like, that's where you want to develop. Like, the KHL is better than the AHL.
Yeah, people,
in terms of developing.
People say up and down that the AHL is better, and I'm like, no,
it is not.
No. The only thing that might change that is now they're okay. So how they have the rule about if you're under 20 and you're drafted from juniors, you have to go back to that. If your NHL club sends you there, they can't just automatically assign you to the American League.
Right. I wish that could change, but yeah.
They're starting to change it. Apparently, the CHL in particular is going to lower that age from 20 to 19. And with another expansion coming, because, by 2032, there's going to be 34 teams.
Golly, real quick on that, I was thinking about this to spring it on you here in the midst of our draft video, but I was thinking, rather than expanding teams, what the NHL should do, if they want more players and want more stuff, they should expand the roster.
Yeah.
And they should honestly, here's what I was thinking. Maybe this is radical. I think they should let teams have a 22-player lineup with 8 defensemen.
I mean, that's not horrible, because
then you could have like 4 or 5 man units.
The KHL does that. They have 8.
They have 22. They have the 22 man roster. That I didn't know. How did I not know that?
Yeah, the only reason I learned that was when I was following Nikishin when he was still over in SKA. When I would look at their starting lineup, they listed 8 defensemen. When they was
and all 8 were dressed. All 8 took a shift.
As far as I know. I could be wrong about that.
That should be, because it's been in frozen at 20 since 1982.
Yeah,
And so I honestly think like that'll get more jobs. That'll get, honestly, maybe you can even have another round of drafting. You can have 8 rounds.
Yeah.
And so like, I think we should do things like that instead of adding more teams. Like we don't need more teams.
Right.
Like it is getting ridiculous at this point. It's like if you want to increase, you want to grow the game, you want to have, more jobs, more talent pool, expand the roster, have another round of drafting before you expand again.
Yeah,
that's what I wish, but yeah.
If they keep diluting, so that's part of the reason why I think the CHL is looking at lowering the age from 20 to 19, because the biggest reason that rule is in place is so that some American League veteran who's in his 30s doesn't get displaced from his job. And I understand that. But undeniably, more often than not, a 19-year-old who is AHL ready on day one coming out of juniors is going to create, more of those types of players, as opposed to some guy who's on the wrong side of 30 and been playing in the American League for 8 years is going to create a more dynamic and competitive league. The problem is the talent pool already feels a little bit too diluted from the last 2 expansion drafts with Vegas and Seattle. Otherwise, Jake Bean and Hayden Fleury wouldn't still be in the NHL.
Yeah.
Just to be perfectly honest, I can never do their job, but that's the only reason they're still in the league is because it's expanded twice since 2018. So I think part of the reason they're changing that rule is because if the NHL goes to 34 teams, inevitably the American League goes to 34 teams. And then it's kind of like, all right, our talent pool is getting diluted too. What do we do to mitigate that problem? And you start bringing in players that were drafted through major juniors sooner, or you're going to have the entire American League filled with European draft picks who've never played in North America.
That's true.
That's going to be all it is. So that's why it's like, when people say that the American League is better than the KHL, I'm like, okay, hold on. There are so many ex-NHL guys that only didn't stay in the NHL because they couldn't find a job, but they were too good to go to the minors. It literally falls in between the two.
Like 4A, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally, it's kind of like, it's an entire league of NHL 13th forwards and 7th defensemen and players above that talent.
And frankly, the goaltending is... They're all at least just about every starting goaltender in the KHL is at least an NHL capable backup.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like the goaltending, actually, the KHL is a low scoring league compared to the NHL, and so like the people who think that they just haven't watched. You just haven't watched any KHL games or highlights or anything like that. If you think the AHL is a stronger league, it is not.
Not even close. Now, if you're talking AHL versus MHL.
Oh yeah,
that's no contest. The AHL is way better, but it's like
juniors in the North America is way better than Russian juniors.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's just kind of like people actually think that, and I'm like, if you keep diluting this talent pool, eventually, like that will cause you to probably lose more fans and more viewership than not expanding to other cities that, mind you, most of them already have hockey teams. They're just not NHL teams. Like they talk about going to Milwaukee for a team, right? They've already got the Admirals there, which is they've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Houston,
Houston or Atlanta again. Take 3.
Well, Atlanta, I think will work this time because it was too early the first time they did it, and the second time they only got the Thrashers so that they could get the new building for the Hawks. That's all it was. So it was like that team was destined to fail. Whereas now it's like, especially if Anson Carter is as involved as it looks like he would be with an Atlanta
Canes legend Anson Carter played
Canes legend Ace. Hey Ace, or hey, it's Ace. He like that time I think it'll work. And then not to mention they're one of the most successful ECHL franchises is in Atlanta. And that was part of where they gauged the idea to put a team in Vegas. So like it can totally work there if the management is correct. Carolina came very, very close to moving, like more than I think people realize. And if it hadn't been for a good ownership group coming in and changing things, that's probably what would have happened. And now it's alive again.
Yep. All righty. I digress. We
do that a lot.
Let's go to our the last 2 picks that we got. A pair of Swedes, a pair of nice, short kings here, maybe, but very, very talented. Certainly Viggo Nordland. Again, very, very dynamic, very, offensive upside here. I really like these. See, this is where the Hurricanes were able, like, okay, we've addressed our need. We've done, kind of the theme of the draft, which is take, a pair of, nice, real big, rangy, mobile defensemen. Now and there was like a 2.5 hour gap actually between picks on day 2 between Bausov at in the third round, I think late in the third round, and then Viggo Nordland in the sixth, late in the sixth. So, but yeah, this is where you go. This is where, hey, swing for the fence. Why not? There's no reason to make any kind of like safe pick here or like try to trade back or trade. Like this is like if you're trading up to draft someone in round 6 or 7, which happened a couple of times. This draft had a lot of swapping picks, a lot of definitely more than last year.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense though, considering this draft like didn't really have like it wasn't very top heavy. So that makes sense why that there was a lot of pick swapping and everything. Because like we were talking about, like when we first talked about the draft this year, there wasn't any like super generational talent. There was no Gavin McKenna. And then that filtered down from there. And it's like, it was mostly like depth pieces and, middle pair defensemen and bottom 6 forwards in this draft. So like, that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does. But this is where it's like, hey, might as well take your shot. You're what is it? You're in the pit and you got to make par. You got to just take it and hope for the best.
And hope there's not an alligator out there.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and I love these 2 picks at doing that. And so there's no denying his talent. He's clearly got offensive talent. He can beat players. He can beat defenders one-on-one. He is slippery. He's not obviously. The physicality is going to be there. He's undersized, only 5'9", 168 pounds. I am about that. So really, I'm actually a lot heavier. But yeah, he can move the puck. He can dangle. He can he can shoot it too. He's got a pretty good shot. I really like what I saw from Nordland. Hey, if he works, he works. He could be a supplemental scorer, and if not, oh well. It was just a 6th-round pick. Not that I want to to be dismissive of him. Someone like Victor Arvidsson, I think if he hits, he could turn into that kind of player on the smaller side, but could definitely chip in with with some offense on the 3rd or 4th line. And yeah, no problem with that at all. And if he gets even more than that, if he's like even could develop into a top 6 guy, that's even better, obviously. And Nordland does have the Martin Necas syndrome, where he tries to dangle around everybody and skates himself into trouble, trying to go 1-on-3 and trying to beat everyone. You're not McDavid. Only McDavid can really do that, and McDavid can't do that against Slavin. He can only do that against people not named Slavin. Yeah. But yeah. So, and of course, defensive improvement, like every young player who focuses on kind of offense, you develop a little bit of more of a two-way game, but so does everybody. And I like the swing here in the 6th round at a nice small dynamic Swede. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean the Canes addressed their issues, so like you were saying, take the best player available at that point. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about this kid. I know a little bit about
look at those Sweden junior numbers right there. J20 National, that's really really nice.
Yeah,
for the Swedish Junior League, which is, of course, it's better than the Russian Junior League, right? And so that's very very nice. And he even got a cup of coffee in the SHL. So yeah, he could be a SHL. He can play more in that league next year. Love to see it. Yeah, really like Norland. If he works out, great. And then I think we can move on to Ekberg here.
All right.
Now this, because I think Ekberg is actually a little bit even more interesting, because at 221st, this is the player most people had in their 2nd or 3rd round.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. Philip Ekberg was the winner of the, what's it called? The WJC, the World Junior Championships under 18 MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you a list of some other players who have won that award in recent years. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Clayton Keller, Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield, Matt Vaymichkov, Will Smith, James Higgins, who was drafted 7th overall, and now Philip Ekberg.
Oh wow!
And there are a few, and then now there are a few other people mixed in, between Connor McDavid and Philip Ekberg that people that you don't know, like Christian Vesalainen, you don't know who that is, neither do I, or Yuri Kulich, no one knows who that is. So it's not to say that they're a surefire hit if they win that award, but nevertheless, he was the World Junior Championships MVP, and that is some pretty rarefied air and some other people who won that award. And so the fact that there's some reasons that he slipped, though. So he slipped because he didn't fit the theme, number one. The theme of the draft was big defenseman. That was a theme. And he and Nordland together really are just like the the exact opposite of a big defenseman is a small forward. And so that's one reason why they slipped. Another reason is his foot speed. He can dangle it. He can pass, and he can shoot. But he doesn't really have the foot speed as of yet. So that is something he would really need to develop, because if you're a small, skilled forward, you got to be fast. You got to be fast in order to have a job in the NHL. It's not enough just to, be, what's his name, Pavel Barber, and just, dirtle around, for as much as you can. You gotta move. And his skating mechanic, it's like his it doesn't seem like he's a bad skater. He just isn't all that fast. And so he needs to, and maybe you can tell me, the hockey player that you are, how you work on just getting speed.
So if he's already got good skating mechanics, at that point, it's more about adding strength. Like, you can always improve the mechanics, but like from what you're describing to me, it sounds like he needs to do a lot of squats, a lot of calf raises, a lot of lunges, stuff like that.
Stairs.
And yeah, and he'll build on, like, so if he's already got the good mechanics and he just adds strength to that, then basically it's just a combination of improving on what you're already doing, and, maybe add some core strength to it, lean out when and where you can, and everything like that. There's a multitude of ways you can do it. But when somebody's already got really, really good skating mechanics, and there's nothing else for them to really gain from having more ankle flexion or more knee bend or getting lower to the ice or extending their stride out, having a better toe flick, if he's got all that down, all you can really do is make your legs and make your core stronger. And
so he needs a lot of leg days.
Yeah, from what it sounds like to me, yeah, because that a lot of times that'll do it, because there's some people I know that, are incredibly effortless looking, efficient skaters, but they have chicken legs. And then muscle endurance is a factor. Like, you might be a lot faster when the game starts out, and then, halfway through the second period, you die out because you don't have any conditioning, you don't have any muscle, or you don't have any, trying to remember what's the term, muscle endurance, and that could be a factor. So there's a whole bunch of things in there. It makes you injury prone. So I think that all those are, just based on that. If he just improves his leg strength and everything like that, a lot of times that'll increase your speed.
All right, cool. Well, then he came to the right organization. Again, because conditioning, building strength, that's Rod the Bod. That's the name of the game over here in Carolina. So then I'm actually hearing that, if that's what his issue is, and if that's how it can be corrected, then I'm actually, I just got a little bit more confident that Philip Ekberg if we make 221, if we make pick 221 because he's got like the dynamism of a top six forward. It's just, he's not fast enough.
Yeah. So that can be fixed.
If that can be fixed with leg day, then I think we could do it again, and just like get an NHL. If you get any NHL player at all, like any NHL game out of like the fourth to last pick, then you've done well. And if we can get a player that plummeted because the theme thing, which shouldn't be which honestly you can put that to the side, but the only real hole in his game is speed. If we can fix that, then boy, I think we made out like a bandit here. Pick 221, taking the MVP World Junior Under 18 player there. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
I chose Arturi Lehkonen as a comparable. That's someone else who I think, really, really good dangler. On the plays on your third line and will chip in offensively and play on the power play and things like that. I think that's what Phil Beckberg can be.
Yeah. So like it's that thing when you look at someone skating, if you look at it and say there's no improvements to be made with mechanics, because that's something you have to teach is what they need to do differently with their mechanics. And when they've been playing, their entire life and everything, not only do you have to maybe unteach something and break a habit and then install a new habit, If it's just a strength and conditioning issue, you don't have to teach them anything new. You just say, here's this much weight, do this many reps, because these kids don't lift a weight without somebody there telling them to make sure they're doing everything right. So that, if you ask me, that's an easier problem to fix than having mechanical issues with the skating.
Excellent. Yeah. In that case, that I am excited to see where Philip Edberg does. Let's take a look at his stats, and you can take a look at what he did in the tournament. Look at the JC under 18. Yeah. 18 points, 7 goals, 10 assists. Or sorry, no, 10, not 8. Yeah, 10 goals, 8 assists in 7 games. Now it's a small sample size, but still, like that is a tournament and a half right there. That is something else. And he played for the Ottawa 67s actually, so he played in the CHL. And another knock about him is that like that team struggled, and supposedly he didn't do well on that, but like really the whole team wasn't all that great. And from what I can tell, his coach wouldn't deploy him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wouldn't give him the ice time, and that's a shame. And the only thing I'd say, maybe like in order to get his development moving, maybe he needs to get out of there. Maybe he needs to go to a different team or a different league where he can be played. Because obviously you can't develop it if you don't play. Yeah.
So this actually intrigued me, the whole thing with the skating. Now I actually really want to see it for myself real quick. Let me find it. Yes, add that to the stage. Okay, remove that. I just want to see something real quick with his skating.
Let's see. Nice shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember watching this actually. Yeah.
So let's see.
Nice shot. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like his feet don't move very quickly.
He's 14, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's something that can be worked on. And I wish this was more than just goals. Wow. I want to see like a train. Yeah, I see. It's definitely not a skating.
What a move. Look at that move. Oh, that was sick to the backhand.
Okay. I think there's a little bit
and score.
There's a little bit of mechanical work that can be done with him, because if you look at his strides, he looks like he can probably get a little bit more extension out of them. But I think more than anything, it's still a conditioning thing, a strength thing, and everything like that. That's what it looks more like to me, because he's not a bad skater at all, but I definitely see footwork is slow, even whether he's launching, whether he's trying to get acceleration, or if he's in full flight and a full forward stride. It looks like he's not getting everything out of each step that he takes. But a good skating instructor, I forget her name, but the girl who does the skating instruction for the Canes, she can totally work with something like this and make it better.
Nice puck up there.
Yeah. He ain't got no problem with going to the front of the net.
That's nice. Yeah, and as a smaller player, that's it takes some guts, which is good to see. Nice pass. Very nice pass. So yeah, I mean, like you can see the dynamic, offensive, skill there.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I picked 221. That's absurd. Cause he really should have, like, in a sane draft world that wasn't like, Florida just won and we need to take all the big defensemen that there are. He should have gone like in round 3. I get it. I get that the skating thing is something that is a hole that needs to be worked on. But 7th round, 4th to last pick, that much talent. Come on.
That can be. I think he can be worked with. I'm gonna watch a lot more of him, because this is intriguing to me. Because if it's not bad mechanics and it's just bad foot speed and everything, that could be just conditioning. Needs to put on some more muscle, maybe do some more anaerobics, agility, all that type of shit. Like that, that's something you can work. And plenty of time. He's a late draft, damn near last draft pick.
Yeah,
and Canes are okay on wingers for the time being, because even if you look down the rest of the depth chart, they're still Nadeau, Ungerstorm, who unfortunately doesn't look like that he's going to pan out at center like Chicago tried.
Yeah, he should not be a center.
No,
he should not.
That experiment didn't last very long.
That was not good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that year development was kind of wasted there, trying to force him to play center. Like he needs to go back to the wing and let him do what he does. But yeah, so these are, and like you said, he had pretty good Swedish junior numbers too, the J20. Yes, I love our draft class. I think we made out like bandits on a lot of these picks. I thought, the value we got was, very, very, very high. Of course, disappointed that we lost out on Mason West. He was our boy, and there's pick 29, which you traded. Hurts my feelings.
Yeah, I knew it was going to happen too.
Yeah. But the players we did pick address key organizational needs and in the pipeline, and we took a fantastic goalie. Some people said the best goalie in the draft, in my opinion, just a little bit behind Ravensburgen. Mm-hmm. And 2 strong centers, and Ivan Rakic at pick 22 is absurd, insane value. And we are going to make everyone else jealous, and every other team is going to regret passing on him. And the theme of big mobile defensemen, we got our share. We didn't, completely buck that trend. But the ones we got, I thought were 2 of the better ones. And I'll just say that, like, just a moment here, there were a lot of, in my opinion, very, very questionable picks in this draft, especially in rounds 1 and 2. Like the fact that Ryabkin goes to 62nd is a crime. And like people like taking Ben Kindle at 11th. Are you joking me? Like, or what is it? Radim Murtka?
Yeah.
The guy, Buffalo, bruh. You went with the slow physical defenseman again. With your 9th pick. Okay. You're going to be in the wilderness for another 20 years. So
it's weird to me that Buffalo's still drafting defensemen, though.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my goodness, you took 2 defensemen number 1 overall, and you can't get out of your own way.
I think maybe they did that because they're planning to package a couple of theirs to maybe address something else. But like, also at the same time, that's almost as dumb as the Hurricane, unless it was just really far and away. He's much, much higher up the draft board than any other defenseman. That would be about as dumb as the Hurricanes using their first round pick to take a defenseman. Like, it would be stupid to do that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when Tom Dundon said, this organization will never draft a defenseman in the first round. Thank you. Like, that is, you really never, like, Schaefer, like, there might be a couple of exceptions. Someone like Schaefer, if you know you're going to land a Schaefer or frankly a Slavin, if you know you're going to land someone like that, then you can justify it with, one of those high, premium picks. But if you're past pick 15, between picks 15 and really like picks 15 and like 30, 35, 40, you don't need to take a defenseman.
Mm-mm.
Because you're not going to get a number 1. You're not going to get a first pair guy there. You're just not. And unless you're the Canes and you find Slavin in round 4, but for all intents and purposes, you're not going to find a first pair guy after pick 15. And forward talent is what's the most expensive. And so that's the Hurricanes' philosophy of, take swings on the upside, because that's how you acquire dynamic offensive talent. Because it's absurdly expensive now in a contract, and it's absurdly expensive to acquire via trade. Mm-hmm. So the way you're going to get it is you're going to draft it. That's it. I mean, especially in, I don't want to say, smaller market team because we spend to the cap, but, still with an organization that isn't the biggest market, that doesn't necessarily have, people that want, and I hate this, that, some players, like, they want to go to the big city. That to me is like, I would hate living in a big city, but some players do. And
I didn't like it when I lived in one.
Panarin or Kane, they wanted that. They wanted that life. They wouldn't give us the time of day, frankly, even though we're a better option.
I was so done with city life. We crossed Raleigh off the list pretty early when we were looking at places to move to. We just didn't want to deal with that anymore. We were tired.
You don't want to live in Raleigh, which is not like exactly the sprawling metropolis of
no, that's how done cities. We were with city life after living up by Washington. We were like, yeah, fuck this. We're done with this.
And like oh my goodness, the Washington metro area is probably the worst.
It sucks.
Like that's worse than New York. Probably.
See, that's what was funny to me when people were arguing with me, even though I have literally lived there. I just left 3 months ago. Well, the players don't live in DC. They live in McLean. I'm like, you think I don't know that? I drove past Alex Ovechkin's house on the way to work every fucking day. And, to make it obvious that his house
toilet
on his
paper
gate,
rub the toilet paper.
I can't do that to him. He'll whip my ass. But like the way it's his house is on the gates at the front. It's the handlebars on it are hockey sticks.
Yeah.
So like it's pretty obvious which one is his. And I'm like, okay,
shy about it.
They still have to go through DC traffic. They still have to go to
I'd hate that.
Arlington traffic to go to the practice facility there, because I went there at 5:30 in the morning every Wednesday to skate for a long time until they stopped having that particular pickup. I
don't know how the New York Rangers players get to MSG, and frankly, I don't think I want to know.
Police escort. That's the only thing.
I guess. Yeah, that's what you have to do, or something like that. And I would hate that, but I guess. All right, some players like that life.
And then not to mention, it's like there's times they're talking about like, oh, the players would just take the toll road. I'm like, the toll road can get backed up too. I know, I have done it. Where I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like wasting all this time getting to work or getting home. Okay, I basically allotted myself 3 days out of the month where I'd let myself use the toll road, and be goddamned if it wasn't 2 out of 3 the last time that I did it, where the toll road was just backed up as the regular road on 495, and I'm kind of like, man, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
I mean, like parking out, like getting out of Nova parking lot is irritating enough. Like
it's like that all the fucking time up there, all the time. So so we were just done with it.
But back to, I guess I digress. Back into my original point, the draft is really how you acquire top end offensive talent, and so that's where it is. And that's like a lot of questionable decisions here. Andrianov at pick 20 by Columbus. Oof, Marone. That is yikes. And I guess, again, I'm just going to toot my horn that all the 10 players we talked about, except for Ryabkin, which in our second stream I mentioned that he was falling. But everyone else went exactly where I thought they would.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I have little chops as the most amateur of amateur scouts.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a lot good for us on here and everything like that, because that's why I defer a lot of the prospect stuff to you, because you know way more about it than I do, and you're way more in tune with it than I am. And like I said, I don't typically pay a ton of attention to a prospect until the Hurricanes draft them, and I tend to hyper focus on one or two. And for me, that was Nikishin and Morrow. And that's part of the reason that when I said I don't think Morrow is going to be a Hurricane next year, and people in the comments were trying to roast me for it, and I'm kind of like, I don't think you understand how much I've watched this kid play, and the Hurricanes have a history of not holding on to players like this.
Yeah, it's a shame, because I was really high on Morrow, and I thought he could maybe be like our Adam Fox type of player. I thought he could do, and he still could, although, See, just briefly with the Miller trade, I know I was going to talk about this maybe on another stream, but everyone's saying that the Rangers fleeced us. Did you now? What did you do to Capo Caco?
Yeah.
What did you do to Lafreniere? You squandered them. You squandered them both. Really, Lafreniere, there's no reason he shouldn't be a top line player. And yet he's going to be on the third line now for the rest of his career, because y'all done effed him up.
Yeah.
The Rangers can't draft. The Rangers can't develop. They attract people by being the Rangers, by being the New York Rangers. That's how they acquire talent. They don't acquire talent through the draft.
You can only live off of being the top free agents market for so long.
Yep.
You can't fill your entire roster with that. It's just not possible. And then
they're going to miss the playoffs again, unless Zirkin plays out of his mind, which he could, I guess. He has the ability to. But unless he plays out of his mind, the Rangers are going to be on the outside looking in again. And by the way, so is Toronto. Hot take right there.
That's true.
Toronto's going to miss the playoffs. You heard it here first.
And then what's really funny is you remember, so a lot of them are saying that, the Canes fans you're going to be tired of Keandre Miller by Thanksgiving. I'm like, you said the same fucking thing about Shea.
You did. And honestly, I remember like in Shea's, like, it might've been his second game. I remember actually, like, cause he made a play in his own zone where he was like skating around the net, no one around him, and he just fell down.
Yeah.
And it resulted in a goal against. And I remember thinking, like, what did we do?
I remember.
What did we do? You remember that game?
Yeah.
Because that was like right before the COVID.
Yeah.
I think. And I remember thinking, what on earth did we do? And It was cleaned up.
Yeah.
It was an issue. So maybe he'll have some growing pains with us, probably.
Oh, definitely.
He'll probably have definitely an adjustment period. But well, we got him for 8 years. We better get used to him. They
must have saw something in him to go ahead and extend him like that, because he got what, a $7.5 million AAV,
$60 million contract.
They really believed in him then. It was kind of like it really is, and it's like, the first few months Brady. So me being worried about how well Brady Shea was going to fit wasn't just that part of the regular season. It was like the beginning of the bubble year. And then I feel like he struggled a little bit when the NHL kind of went back to a full season. I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but over time, once him and Pesci started clicking, everything like worked out fine. And then it went from, the Canes are going to regret it, to everybody wanting to pay him $7 million to stay, except me. Because, like, full disclosure, when Shea first walked, I was really pissed. I was kind of like, that's someone that Carolina should have held on to. But then I saw Gostisbehere come back for $3.2 million. I'm like, you know what? Less than half the money he's making, less than half the term, not as physical, not as good 5-on-5 defense, not the first guy you go to for penalties, but he does literally, or for penalty kill, but he does literally everything else better than Shea. That's why I think overall he's a better player than Shea.
And when I saw that contract, when I see that contract and the kind of contracts that Nashville was throwing around everywhere, it's like, get your bag, man. Good for you. Just don't do it here.
See, like what I was hoping they would do with Shea, I was hoping they would throw an Orlov type of deal at him.
Like, $7 million for another 2 years would have been justified.
Yes, or even 4. But it's like, something like that I would have been totally okay with. But Carolina wasn't going to shell out that kind of money to keep a guy who was turning 30 at that point. And it's not like paying Slavin.
Miller's 25.
That's the thing. So it's like they're different players, but I think you're going to get similar effects from this that you got from the Shea trade. You had to give up a little bit more to make it happen, because, when Shea was traded for, the Rangers were pretty much already out of contention, before the season turned into the irregularity that was the bubble. But it's like, I think that there's going to be some growing pains. There really will. Like the first 15 or 20 games, like, be really patient with him. After that, I think he's going to be fine.
I think so too. And I'd be more worried if we were making that deal with someone like, I don't know. I kind of like the draft picks that Ottawa does. I kind of like them, and I kind of like Dallas. That I hate to say it, they draft really well.
They do.
They drafted Stankoven, so like they in the second round. So Dallas, see, although Dallas isn't in our conference, like if we were doing like that with a team that could draft well and could develop well, then I'd say, that was a lot to give up and probably too much. I'm not worried.
With the Rangers now.
With the Rangers, I'm not worried. The thing is, like, I kind of feel bad for Morrow, because they're going to ruin him. Yeah. Like, he's got to get out. Like, frankly, he has to figure out how to get out of there. Like, he's got to figure out how to get on another team that can develop him properly, because the New York Rangers cannot.
I don't think they can either.
They're going to have to prove the only decent player that they've drafted and developed is Will Cooley in the last 6 years. That's the only really good player that they've been able to draft and develop. They have to prove to me as an organization that they can do that way better than what they're doing now before I'm going to actually say that we lost that deal.
The only other player,
those are my thoughts on it.
The only player,
saying, you got fleeced. Carolina's like, okay, all right, you go ahead and think that. That's fine.
The only other player I think that they're potentially going to develop well, of the ones that they already have, is Gabe Perreault.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got potential. Like, he was a good selection. Got to develop him, and if he stalls in development, then it's you're going to just think of what could have been. You're just going to be playing the what if game, and they have a lot of those. The Rangers have a lot of those. I mean, like, think about it with Lafreniere and Kakko. Like, the fact that you flubbed those, that's inexcusable.
Yeah.
Like, whoever's running their scouting or development should be canned.
Yeah.
They should not be working.
And I remember saying something on X about how I think Capo Kakko was going to turn into an 80, 90-point player.
Yep.
Mark my words.
So too.
That's going to happen. It's because I'm sitting there and watching, when there were things going around about the Canes potentially trying to get Capo Kakko, I'm like,
I kind of wanted him.
Get him and staple him to Aho and leave him alone.
I kind of wanted him. Yeah. I'm kind of like, honestly, I still kind of do. Like, I don't know what his contract situation is going to be in Seattle, but I wouldn't mind grabbing him. I mean,
I'll tell you in 2 seconds what he's got right now. Because I was like,
if you think he's like a KK mirror, you think again.
No, Kako can skate.
He can skate and he can pass and he can shoot, and the Rangers just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, because like when they were talking about him coming to Carolina, I was kind of like, I'm not opposed to that at all.
I kind of want it. I kind of still do.
Left shot,
I know
right
we're loaded at wing. I know we're loaded at wing, but I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate having him around just because.
I mean, he's still an unsigned RFA. Did he elect for arbitration?
Arbitration, he might have. Maybe he's not. Is he arbitration eligible? He probably is. He's probably been in the league enough.
Let me see.
Yeah, we could throw an offer sheet his way. That'd be funny.
Yeah, but we already used up all of our.
We need our. I don't even know if we can now with.
He did in fact file for arbitration.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like when he was available, I was kind of like, if the Canes could, I mean, hard to pull that off in the division, as we saw, like, with everything that they gave up to get Keandre Miller and everything. I'm like, left-handed shot, prefers to play the right wing. He's 216 pounds, 6'1". He's not super physical in terms of physicality, but he's good at protecting the puck and using his frame to do that and bullying his way to the front of the net. And like, that was someone I was like, glue him to Aho and see what happens. Like, I wasn't opposed to that at all, but it's like, see if he see what happens with his arbitration and everything.
Yeah. Who knows? He could one day find his way onto the Hurricanes. But yeah, so I guess did you have any final thoughts, Brandon? I kind of we went off a little bit there on
we did. We always do though.
But yeah, that's great. But yeah, I just to wrap it up, I am very, very pleased with our draft class, and spying on what other people have said about it too. The Canes have a bit of a reputation now when it comes to the draft of like making out like bandits and taking players and taking like the best value picks is really what the Hurricanes are known for. And they did it again. I'm just going to say they did it again with who they took at the spot they took. Really, I'm not sure anyone in the league is better.
I agree.
All right.
All righty. My friend, this has been fun as always.
Yes. Loved it. Look forward to the next one. Let me know if we're going to do one of those group streams with some of our colleagues.
We're going to do that in the near future.
I'd love to join.
Yeah, we're going to do that in the near future. Everybody, if you don't follow Matthew on X, it is at MatthewPAO1. Check him out. If you follow me, though, overwhelming likeliness is you follow him. And he's going to be on here, like when it comes to prospect stuff, he's going to be very involved with these every chance that he gets. He's been incredibly helpful with helping cover the draft and everything like that. He's very knowledgeable with these things. Again, my friend, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait for the next one.
All right, everybody, have a good night. We will see you next time.